Great. So it is 3 o'clock. I am going to start. I appreciate you all being on time. And for those of you that have never met me, my name is Barb Safaris. And this 1 hour session today is really talking about the front page of the Charting the Life Course portfolios. There are many portfolios, and all of them have a one-page description as the front sheet. The one-page description was developed by Helen Sanderson in England, in the UK, and it was brought to the US by the Learning Community for Person-Centered Practices. So it is not an original Charting the Life Course tool. They have adapted it. And so we're going to go through that during this hour. All of our sessions on Charting the Life Course are provided by the Family Resource Network of Ohio. We are Ohio's official hub for Charting the Life Course. We have a website, which I hope you have signed up on. When you go to the website, frnohio.org, excuse me, there's a pop-up that asks you if you want to sign up for notifications. If you do, you'll receive all the emails about all the presentations that we make available at no cost to anyone who is interested. And they're on Zoom. The ones that are open to everyone are on Zoom. We also hope you like our Facebook page, where we post stories of how people are using Charting the Life Course. People with lived experience, families, and professionals across different service systems. So education, health, mental health, county boards, DD, aging, and family members sharing how they're using Charting the Life Course and the impact it's made in their life. Our Family Resource Network team, our manager is Tracy Manns, and our project manager coordinator is Erica, and she's got the background of the candy hearts for Valentine's Day. I love it. I love it. And so she will be monitoring the chat. She has put in Facebook, she has put in chat the link to the handouts if you did not get them. And please feel free to ask questions at any time. Type in chat. If that is not convenient, unmute and call my name so that I know that somebody has a question. Again, my name is Barb Safaris. I've worked in the IDD field for over 46 years in the Cleveland area. I've worked in the public schools, the private schools, the Catholic schools, the Montessori schools, and for the county board. I was a licensed speech language pathologist until I retired my license. So I worked with people of all abilities across the lifespan from 3 up through the end of life. So I think the oldest person I supported was in their 90s. I also am a sibling. My youngest brother, Nick, on Santa's lap, was diagnosed with a developmental disability when I was 4. And my brother, Jim, was in an accident in his 30s. And so he was, he had what we call an acquired disability after the age of 22. So we're going to talk about this one-page description. What is it? What do you include in it? But also, what do you not include, which is just as important, because we want this one page to be different than other papers about people. We'll talk about why you would develop it. So we never say everyone should have one of the tools from Charting the Life Course. There's got to be a reason. So why would you develop it? Who develops it? And who do you share it with? You have 3 handouts: the PowerPoint, we sent you a template of a one-page person-centered description and a one-page with there's guidance written in every section. So after this session, you can look at it and go, now, what did she say we're supposed to put in this? And what did she say we're not supposed to put? So it's a resource for you to use after the call. I will tell you during the call, you do not have to use the one-page template. In fact, most people I know do not use the template. They use a Word document, so don't feel that you have to use the form. One of the things that we're doing in Ohio that we're really happy about is we're trying to share information about charting the life course with all stakeholders, people with lived experience, families, professionals across all service systems, so that we build a common understanding. And when someone says life domains, everybody will know what that means. When someone talks about integrated supports or integrated support start, everybody will know what that means. And when we talk about a one-page description, everybody will know what that means. So our why do we do this work? Is because of our core belief. We believe that all people and their families have the right to live, love, work, play, learn, and pursue their life aspirations in their community. All people, not just people with disabilities, not just people with disabilities and their families, but all people, everyone we know. The one-page person-centered descriptions, why we develop them, is because we want a way to talk about people that is not disability specific, but really talks about them as a human being. Who are they for? Anybody, across the lifespan, across abilities, across roles. Professionals have developed their one pages, families have, people with lived experience have, therapists have helped people develop theirs. It's for anyone. If you are a family member or you are working with people who do not use words to communicate, spoken, written, signed, we, as with all person-centered approaches, we get information from them, from their words, if they use words, and their actions. And as a speech language pathologist for 45 years, I never met anyone who did not use words to communicate and who someone in their life could not tell me what they liked, what they didn't like, what was a good life, what was a not so good life, what they wanted, what they didn't want. People communicate, and it's finding the people who know them so that we can get the information from them. Who develops a one page? The person and those who know them well. So it's not developed for people, it's developed with people. It is one page. Why? Because everybody will read one page. If you want me to laugh, type in chat how long the IEPs or ISPs are that you write or that you have for your family member. I'd love to know. Just type the number in chat. This is one page. I have heard that ISPs and IEPs can be anywhere from 8 to 50 pages long. Now, who's going to sit down and read that? But we know that everybody will look at one page. When do you make a one-page description? It could be any time. And think about the reason, the why might be because people are going into a new environment, a new classroom at school, they're going to a new doctor, a new therapist, maybe getting a new provider. Some families have written them for people who are going to join an activity or a club that they've never been part of. One mother wrote it for her son when he was going to start going to the youth group at church and he was a teenager. One sibling, a sister, wrote a one-page description for her teenage brother when he was going to fly alone for the first time to go visit their father out of state. Her brother is on the spectrum And she thought, let me write this one page. Let me give it to the flight attendants. It's a new environment. It's a new experience. He's never flown alone. And there are new people. I mean, those flight attendants had never met him. And why did she write it? Because she wanted them to have information to feel like they could support her brother. And you'll see how the way we write information is all about what other people need to do to support. And the flight went well. Her brother had a good experience. The flight attendants knew that if he started to get anxious, they should remind him to watch the movie on his iPad or to make sure he kept his headphones on. The flight attendants had a good flight because they felt like they knew what to do if he did become anxious. And the rest of the passengers had a good flight because you know what it's like on a plane. If there's commotion, it impacts everybody on that plane. So where do you write it for? Any setting. I told you, an airplane, it could be for a medical appointment, it could be for school, it could be for church, it could be for camp, it could be for respite, it could be for any environment. And a person can have more than one because they might have one for the airplane, but that wouldn't have the same information for having one for school because he was still in school. So what I want you to think about is how can you support and empower students, families, and staff to develop a one page? Remember, it's a quick introduction. Here's one page. People can have multiple copies. The student can have multiple copies. They can give it to every teacher they have. They can give it to the lunch lady. They can give it to their bus driver. It's a summary. It's easy to read, and it's one page. It's also good for self-esteem. When I've helped people write theirs, they'll tell me, I never thought of this, or I never knew that people saw those qualities in me. And therapists, counselors have told me that they work with people to develop their one pages because they're seeing the therapist because they do have low self-esteem. And the one therapist said to me, this is a great way to help people really see themselves in a positive manner. And then accommodations. If any of you are working with kids from 14 to 22, you know that transition period, during that period, students are supposed to be learning how to identify the accommodations they need to be successful. And think about, as staff, how can you develop and share your own one-page description? So several entities, a couple of the COGs, oh my gosh, what are COGs? Oh my goodness, I can't remember what a COG is. Oh my goodness. Council
of government.
Thank you. Thank you. Some of the COGs have had their staff write one-page descriptions, and they're on the website. So when you talk to somebody, you know who they are because there's a photo and a little bit of description of who they are. If you're supporting students, if you're in an education environment, think about when should they develop one? When they're going to a new classroom, when they're going to participate in activities at school or clubs, or if you are supporting students who have medical issues. I just had a staff member email me this week and said, remember, I attended your training. You talked about the one page. Can you resend me a copy? I'm working with a mom whose young son is having medical issues and has been in and out of the hospital. And I think this would help mom develop one that she can share when he's hospitalized. So think about your students if they're having new opportunities. If they are doing some job trials or they're volunteering or doing some things in the community as part of their school program, this is a great way to help them introduce themselves. They can use it to introduce themselves. And then, are they going to be with any new people, other students, staff? Some of the staff at county boards who help people find ways to be engaged in their community, to volunteer, have helped the people they support write their one page. So when they do go volunteer somewhere and somebody says, tell me a little bit about yourself, they've got it written down on a piece of paper and they can either read it or hand it to people. Or think about when people are going through transitions. Any of the life transitions, early intervention to early childhood, to school age, to transition, to adult, to aging. So one of the things I like about the one page is it really makes us think about the words we use and the power of those words. The words we use convey our values and our beliefs. And most times when I ask a family to tell me about their loved one, they start telling me, oh, they're 20 years old and they're on the spectrum and they have seizures and they go to this school and they live with us and they have a behavior plan. And I'm like, well, thank you very much. Who is the person that you love? You never mentioned their name. And so the one page is a way to talk about the human being, not what made them eligible for services. It also shifts from talking about the needs that they have to how do they contribute? And it makes us shift our thinking about, we tell people they need to be independent, but none of us are. We are all interdependent, and it is okay to need help. I need help, okay? I moved to a condo before I retired. Why? I didn't want to have to cut grass. I didn't want to have to shovel snow. I didn't want to have to deal with a yard. I wanted it to be a little easier. Now, somebody, I pay to get those things done that I don't like to do. I am interdependent, but I can still live in my own place. I cannot balance my checkbook, but I can live in my own place and I pay my bills on time. So let's stop thinking about people need to be independent or they'll never be able to live in their own apartment because they can't do X, Y, and Z. And I'll share, and if I don't share, maybe I better share it now. Judy Heumann, who was an amazing advocate for people with disabilities, once said, being independent is not doing everything myself. It's being in control of how things are done to support me. And that's the mindset we have to have, that people don't have to do everything themselves, but they need to be in control of how things are done. Or they need to be in control with the people that know them the best, their family, in how things are done. Because we all don't make independent decisions. We talk to people. We talk to people we trust. So let's look at the words that we want to use so that we talk about people as being human beings and not being a list of what made them eligible for services. If any of you are county board staff or families that have an ISP with a county board, please know that the one-page description is not the same as that introduction page on the OISP. And the reason is the OISP introduction page has things about needs and supports and services that the one-page description does not. We don't talk about needs, we talk about supports. So there are 3 sections, and on this form that you see on the left, there's 4. This open space on the right is for a photograph. And then there are 3 sections where we write information. I'm going to go through each of those 3 sections. Again, we sent you the form. It's a PDF fillable. You can use it if you want, or like most people, you can just make a Word document with text boxes because it allows you to add graphics. And a lot of people, when they develop their one page, they want to put graphics or icons on it of things that are important to them. Maybe their favorite food, maybe their pet, maybe their family members, maybe something that they like, a sports team or a movie like Star Wars or Marvel or Star Trek, or I'm trying to think of what other logos I've seen. So the first section up on top, this light blue heading, is what do people like and admire about you? And these are qualities. They're not what people do. So it's qualities like artistic, or let me go to the next slide. I am giving you a whole list that Dr. Google has shared with me. And I want you to type in chat, if you are a family member, what are one or two qualities that people like and admire about your loved one or about you? And let's hear what words you like people to use to describe you. So I'll give you a minute, chat, and I will tell you a story. One young man has a job making flyers for a nonprofit and doing some web postings. And he asked his boss, what do you like about me? And he said, you make really good flyers. And the gentleman told me, my boss said I make really good flyers. I said, that's great, but that's what you do. What are your qualities? And he said, what are you talking about? And I said, what's inside of you that helps you make these great flyers? And he goes, I don't know. And I said, well, I'm guessing you have to be artistic. Nobody has any qualities to share. Go ahead. Brag a little. It's 3:22. What do people like about you? Thanks, everybody. And I said, I think you're artistic. He goes, oh, I am artistic. I said, see? I said, what else? He goes, I don't know. I said, I think you must be creative, which I am not. And he goes, oh, I am. So let's look at what you've said. Authentic, creative, helpful, clever, resourceful, smiley, silly, loud, good listener, helpful, and thoughtful. Awesome, you guys. These are the words we're trying to elicit from people. They may have a hard time identifying their qualities because they've never been asked. And so we may have to tell them based on what we know. So another woman told me she is a Special Olympics athlete and she won medals. She told me that. That was like, the second sentence. And I won 3 medals at the last games. And I said, so what do people like and admire about you? She said, I'm a Special Olympics athlete. I said, that's what you do. But the first thing you told me was that you won medals and you're very proud of that. I said, so I'm guessing you're competitive. You want to win. And she goes, well, of course. Why would I go if I don't want to win? And I was like, okay, I'm guessing you're athletic. And she was like, well, yeah, I train. And I said, okay. So even though she could tell me what she did, she could not tell me her qualities. I think that's very sad that people aren't used to sharing their qualities. Yep. Exactly, Josh. And that's why I give people the whole list so that as people tell us their activities, we can turn around and say, I think that you probably have to have this quality to be able to do that. And when I've asked a group of people, self-advocates who know each other, what do you like about each other? They all use the same word, and it was nice. They're nice. And I said, okay, what else beside nice? So people may not be able to identify their qualities. If they share their activities, see if you can identify a quality. Teachers have used this in the classroom where students write on paper what they like about each other. Like they'll have a paper for each student and they can go around the room and either write or draw, or someone can scribe for them. And they say it's been a way to create a more positive attitude towards each other in the classroom. I've done this with teams of staff, and staff become very emotional when they see what other people write about them and say, I never thought my coworkers saw that. So what people write may be different for different settings. That's why it's okay for people to have more than one person-centered description. The second section, that orange, has the orange banner, is what's important to me. Now, any of you that work for a county board or have a plan from a county board know that the heading, what is important to you, has been on ISPs for probably 25 years. So it's not an old term. It's not a new term. It's an old term. It's in rule and it's mandated by Medicaid. Okay, so what does it mean important to? Okay. Marilyn, great question. Some people push back. They say it's the same as their ISP. I tell them it's so different from your ISP because number one, it's one page and it doesn't talk about anything that you cannot do. It talks about who you are and what you can do and what other people can do to help you, which is very different from the ISP. So I tell them this is a way that you can introduce yourself when you're looking for a job or when you meet new people. And it gives them, actually, we're going to be doing this with a large group of people with lived experience, and we're going to have them practice introducing themselves using their one page to each other, to people they don't know in the room. And there will be people they don't know, because when we get introduced to people, I hope no one says, here's Barb, she has cataract, she has cataracts, she wears bifocals, she's overweight. And that's what their ISP says. They have this disability, they have this label, they get these services. They don't talk about, if anybody introduced me to their friend using those words, my guess is I would not want to be spending a whole lot more time around them, because I would say, that's the way you see me. I don't think, you don't value me as a person, so I'm not sure I want to be around you. Important too, per Medicaid, per the learning community on person-centered practices, should really look at 8 areas. And it's not likes and preferences. That's what we typically have written on the plans, what they like to do. But it's the stuff that if it wasn't in our life, we wouldn't be happy. We wouldn't feel fulfilled. So who are the people? And by name, not just friends and family. That doesn't tell me anything. The information that's written on the plan that says important to should come from the person, from their words or their actions, not their activities and not what other people say, but it's what they say. I'm reading Kelly's question, so I'm sorry I slowed down because I guess I cannot read and talk at the same time. Great point. My autistic son just took his driver's permit. The person at the desk was barking orders and I asked him to slow down, but instead of saying, I don't understand, I said, he has autism, can you speak slower? When really his disability wasn't the issue. And did not need accommodated. I need to do better. Hey, Kelly, the stuff that you'll see my brothers, all this stuff written on it is because of we didn't write it before and we learned the hard way. We needed to. So we learned, right? And it might be instead of, it could be how to best support me, slow down, slow down, maybe ask me, do you have any questions, or whatever it is that works for him. My speech pathologist is jumping out, so sorry about that. Status and control, and what I tell people with lived experience, what makes you feel important, what makes you feel that you have control over your life, and it's having my own money, having a key to my place, having a job, having technology, my own smartphone, whatever. Having an ID, things to do and places to go. Too often on the plan, this is the only area that's covered under important too. You know, I like to go bowling, I like to go to McDonald's, and I like to go to Walmart. Well, I'm not sure that any of those three things give people a good quality of life and help them feel satisfied and comforted. They don't for me. Going to Walmart does not comfort me. Okay. Rituals and routines. I tell people that's what you have to do every day. You know, maybe it's sit in the same chair. Maybe it's the way what you do when you first get up in the morning, or what you do right before you go to bed. We all have routines. We get up, we get ready, we leave, we come home, we go to bed. And in those routines and meals, we have rituals. So how many of you use the same plate or same cup when you drink your coffee or your tea or whatever? How many of you have Taco Tuesday, or you have a menu that's pretty much set? I have to have a water bottle in front of me when I'm on Zoom. That's my ritual. Rhythm and pace of life. Are they morning people, night people? Do they get up and go quickly, or are they slow to move through their day? Things to have. I have to have my smartwatch. I have to have my water bottle. And I have to have my cell phone. I look at the time on my cell phone, not my smartwatch. I don't know why, but that's the way I do it. What gives people purpose and meaning? What makes them feel like they're helping others and that people value them or think they're important? And most people will tell me what they do to help others. I help at home. I help my mother. I help at my day program. And then culture and identity, not just being the pronouns that people use, but is there anything about their background that's important to them? And I tell them I'm Greek, and then all of a sudden someone is like, well, I'm Italian and we have to have this food on this holiday. Okay, that's important to you. That's part of your culture. So helping people identify these parts of their lives and share them with you. So in chat, what are a couple things that are important to you or to your loved one if you are a family member? And think about, don't just say friends and family. I asked one woman and she said, my family. And I said, what about your family? And she said, what do you mean? And I said, well, what is it that you want to do with your family? Or if it didn't happen, you would not be happy. You would be very upset or very sad. And she said, I want to have quiet time with mom and dad and me, nobody else. I want to play with my nephews. Okay, now we're getting to it. I want to go out with my girlfriends. We like to go out to a restaurant once a month. So very specific. Why? Because if we don't know the specifics, then we can't help people have their good life. If all you tell me is friends and family, I have no idea what that means. Walk my dogs throughout the day. It's also not every member of my family. Yes, exactly. Not every member. So who? Walk my dogs. New Year's party at my brother's house, eating dinner at our table, church girls' night out. Exactly. The third section is how to best support me. So not what they can't do, but what do other people need to do? So when teaching me something new, tell me, watch me, show me, and then tell me how I'm doing. It doesn't say a woman wrote this for her employer. It doesn't say she can't follow multi-step directions. It says, tell me, show me, watch me, and then tell me how I'm doing. You could also put something that maybe people have to look at the plan, follow the behavior support guidelines. Don't tell me what to do, give me two options. Remind me, one mother wrote, remind him to wear headphones in a noisy environment. Not that he has sensitivity to noise. If I read that, I wouldn't know what to do. Should I whisper? What should I do? And don't talk to me like I'm a child. So you see, it's not a description of needs. It's a to-do list of support. Again, if someone new was working with you, or maybe your family, what would you tell them they need to do to support you? So for me, one of my pet peeves is people who are late. So if you're, to support me, be on time. And I had a supervisor who was the superintendent of a county board who said, Barb, I want you to check the work that people are doing, a certain project, and I don't want excuses. And I was like, whoa, okay. She goes, I don't want to hear the excuses. I want people to do it. And I said, okay. So what are things that people would need to do to support you? Maybe your family, maybe at work. So I would always tell people, be on time. I hate when people join Zoom meetings late and get on and say, hi, I'm sorry I was late. I had this thing happen over here. And I'm like, not only are you late, but now you're taking up 2 to 3 minutes of our time telling us why you're late. And I don't want to hear it. Be on time. So anyway, no one's going to tell me how to support you, huh? That's okay. So I did a one-page description as a trainer. What can people do? Ask questions, be engaged. Thank you for typing in chat. What's important to me that people ask questions, that I'm prepared and punctual. Tracy and Erica know that, boy. If we're not on the call, yeah. I was late one time for a training, and Tracy goes, I was so afraid I was ready to send EMS out to your house. but that was 15 minutes early. I wasn't late.
Girl, I had to call and cancel the squad. I'm you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Give me trinkets, small gifts, makes me feel appreciated. Oh, that's nice. That's nice to know. Thank you for sharing that. So I also did a one page for myself for my wellness. I was a full-time family unpaid caregiver, and it occurred to me that, we all know this, but it really hit me like I've got to start taking care of myself because I'm reaching, some limits here. And so I actually wrote my one page just for wellness. Like, what do people like and admire about me as a caregiver? What's important to me for my wellness? And then how to best support me. So, things like, and now I'm working with a group of respite caregivers and family members. And we're really, working on this because we all need a balance in our life. It's not just if you're taking care of somebody with a disability. So, what's important to me was going to the gym, having non-care time, time alone, going out with a friend, how to best support me. Don't tell me you should, you need to, or have you tried. Ask me what would be helpful and ask me if it's a good time if you call me. Tracy, when she would want to call me, she would text me first thing, hi, Barb, is this a good time? And I had to laugh. I was like, oh, okay, Tracy read it. So when you develop a one page, you've got to identify, why am I writing this? What's the environment and who's going to read it? Because if it's just written to write it, it's going to be wasted. So here's one for my brother. A couple of points that I love to point out. It doesn't say Nick Seferis. It says Nick the Greek, because that's what he liked to be called. Please don't ever use the first person pronoun, I, me, my, unless the person said it. So you see that under how to best support, it is in quotes, because we learned the hard way. This is stuff we had to tell people. Things like use a spoon to feed me, put the food on my left side between my teeth. No one had to read an 80-page ISP or take a feeding course with cerebral palsy. Here's how to feed Nick. Simple. Spoon between my teeth, left side of my mouth. Easy peasy. That's why we write a one page, because it's succinct and you're pulling out what people really need to do. Under important too, you see relationships, you see status and control, you see places to go, you see culture, tradition. Here's Trace. Tracy, are you still on?
I sure am.
Could you share Trace, please?
Sure, I'd be happy to. This is my son, Trey. He has autism. And we wrote this for his job. He had a little bit of difficulty at work. Coworker wasn't understanding him. So we created this. And I have to tell you, because it addresses a comment somebody had, I sat down to do this and said, Trey, come help me with it. And he did not want to fill out a form with me. And I said, okay, that's fine. I'll go ahead and do it and you can look it over. And I talked out loud as I did the first 2 bullet points that he was kind and has a loving heart and that he's eager to be helpful. And the next thing you know, he was sitting right beside me and he said, yeah, when I'm passionate about something, my joy is evident. So I threw it on there. And then he was in after that because we were talking about him and we were saying good things about him. And we did it very conversationally. I think what's important to note here is that when we went through this and I asked him what was important to him, and he said, my family, I said, who? Because, you know, he didn't mention any aunts or uncles when we were on here. The people who were really important to him were those of us who were in his immediate circle. And then his cats, and we put his cat's name on there. Having time to himself to decompress. Boy, is he right. He needs that. And I love that he included it. When we talked about video games, I said, which one, son? Because if somebody else is going to read this, they're going to want to know what you want to talk about. And we listed them out. And the having foods that he enjoys, another somewhat funny thing is I've been on this real weight loss journey. And so there's nothing good to eat in my house for a young man. Let me tell you, he thinks that he's living in prison right now. So he wants all the things that you see listed there, candy and chicken tenders and French fries and yada, yada. And then his next bullet point was to be able to go to the store and get those things, which it all amuses me. And a rocking chair and his favorite shows. And he added, interestingly, his future and his job, which I didn't know he was concerned about because he doesn't voice it. And then when we talk about how to best support him, I love that he put this in here because my guy definitely got the literal side of autism. And if you were to say something to him like it's raining cats and dogs outside, he would look at you and say, no, it's not, it's raining water. Because I don't know why we say things like that, hit the road, all those things. He doesn't get it, say it straight. Be patient, explain things carefully. He responds better to the praise and criticism. Don't we all? If I get upset, reassure me, talk with me, and give me time to calm down. So important to have that time. When teaching him how to do things, how do you do it? And this one kind of breaks my heart, but it was so profound. Help me know that things will get better. With autism, they have very concrete thinking sometimes. Things are either all good or all bad. And when things go bad, he feels like they're all bad and that it's never going to change. And he literally needs somebody just to tell him things are going to get better. And then writing things down for him to help him keep calm and organized. We took it to his work, gave it to his supervisor. And then I also asked that a copy of that be put in the master file for him. And things have been a lot better. People understand how to support him and work with him with this information.
Awesome. Thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome.
And again, that how to best support me is so clear. No one has to guess. And just think about when we write ISPs and we write all these things about can't follow multi-step directions, sensitivity to sounds, very literal. A DSP is like, okay, so what am I supposed to do? A staff member. But here it's very clear. When you speak to me, don't use sayings that don't sound like what they mean. And that's why I love the one page. So I'm going to flip through these fast. You have the PowerPoint examples. This one was written when mom went back to work. Maxwell was 3 months old and she wrote it for the daycare. So of course, Maxwell did not answer the questions. Okay, this was developed by mom and dad. People who knew Maxwell the best, and they wrote from their perspective, and that's okay. Now Maxwell is a toddler and he's going to daycare, but it's different now. He's going to go to like a nursery school type daycare. So here's some extra things. When I'm sleeping, here's some things you have to do. When I'm eating, here are some ways to support me. Because, you know, I'm going to take a nap and we're going to have lunch or whatever it is. This one is for Tyler, and you can see it's very clear how to start interacting with Tyler. It's very clear how to start engaging with him. You notice none of these are on the template. They're all Word documents. This is Liam's for medical appointments. So he needs to know where mom and dad are under how to support him. What's important to him? I'm sorry. How to support him. He's got a hearing loss and visual loss. He's got to feel things. So if you're going to use the stethoscope, let him touch it and feel it. So remember, it could be a Word doc. Some people like to add pictures and symbols. Make it simple so people will read it. Keep multiple copies, like Tracy said. She had it in his main file. She had his supervisor got a copy. I tell people, put it in a plastic sheet protector. Make sure it's in the house, maybe on the refrigerator. One young woman told me she put hers in a frame, and when staff come to her apartment to help her, if they're new, she tells them, don't talk to me till you read my one page. We also have learned that it's important to have one when people are hospitalized. I told you about the SSA that contacted me this week and said, I'm working with a mom whose child had a lot of medical issues and has been spending a lot of time in the hospital, and mom has been very anxious about leaving him. What if no one's in the room? And she said, can you send me the form? And I sent her the template, but also the form with guidance, and said, you know, if you need any help, let me know. And she's like, I know this is going to help mom at least feel like she's given them information that they can see very quickly. Put it above the bed. So again, if you're writing it for the hospital, what makes them feel comfortable in the hospital? You know, having the cell phone, having maybe something that provides comfort, their rosary, their Bible, their prayer book, their iPad, their stuffies, their own blanket. How to best support them in the hospital, know how they express pain, how to give them meds. This is for Nick, same picture, same great things, but now what's important, how to best support, ask me yes, no questions, because he used a laptop with voice output and we couldn't mount it. He couldn't access it when he was in the hospital. I can't feel pain on my right side. Why is that important? Whoops. Why is that important? Because what's the first thing anybody asks when they walk in a hospital room? What's your pain level, 0 to 10? And he would say 0, and I would be jumping up and going, that's only on the left side, because he can't feel on the right side. So I'm going to ask I'm going to ask Tracy to share Tara's story.
Sorry about that. I sure will. And real quick, Kelly, don't run off, because I can help you with something for the driving thing. And the one page is a wonderful idea, but I have something else I'll send you. But nonetheless, reach out to me. My daughter is a nurse at a local hospital, and she works in a PCU unit, which is a step down from the ICU. So it's the next level. And they had a 40-year-old nonverbal autistic woman come up from the ER. She had taken a fall from standing, and she had knocked out all of her front teeth, broken her nose, and broken her eye socket. She didn't have parents with her. She lived in a group home situation, and her parents lived 2 hours away, and she had a very exhausted caregiver with her because, you know, as Murphy's Law would have it, of course, this fall happened at the very end of this woman's shift, and they had been through the whole ER and the whole 9 yards with it. This is what my daughter saw when she came in. She saw the woman zipped into a confining bed. She had not been cleaned up. She had not been given any real pain medication, but she had been given a dose of ketamine to control her behaviors, which, let me tell you, if I had broken all that and not been given any pain medicine, I would be behaving too. Let me tell you, I would be acting out in a way that nobody was going to like. She had been zipped in, like I said, to a confining bed, and had absolutely no clothing on. And at the bottom of that bed was a 3-ring binder full of care instructions for her. Well, of course, that 3-ring binder that was, you know, yay thick, I'll move it over here where you can see, had not been opened. Nobody in the ER has time to read through all that. And my daughter knew that nobody up on the floor she was at was going to read through it either. So she takes one look at it, and she turns right around, and she calls me, and she says, Mom, you got something. You got something that can help with that charting the life course stuff you do. I said, I do. And I sent her a one-page person-centered description. And she is my son, who you met earlier. She's his twin sister. She is a sibling and she gets it. She very intuitively picked up on this. So I gave her 5 minutes down and dirty and she was in it. She went back into that room and she talked with the caregiver and with the woman, because again, just because someone's not verbal doesn't mean they can't communicate. And the questions were, first and foremost, let's get some pain meds in her. Tell me, why didn't she have pain medicine? You can probably guess, because somebody verbally asked her what your pain was on a scale of 1 to 10. She couldn't answer them, so she didn't get it. So she talked with her provider and said, how does she elicit pain normally? What does this look like? Because we know she's in pain. They got pain medications ordered and into her. With the pain meds, they were able to clean her up a little bit. Next thing is, can you tell me why she's naked? Because they want to give her a little bit of dignity back. And the caregiver said that they had a gown on her, and as she was wiggling around in that bed, it kept going higher and higher and higher up on her neck, and it made her feel like she was choking, and she kept taking it off and throwing it and taking it off and throwing it. And I get it. She already had enough things irritating her at that moment. So my daughter's question was, what does she wear at home? She wears sweatpants and a sweatshirt. Well, we can come close to that. So she went and she got her some scrubs to put on, and she felt so much better. And the caregiver on the way out the door had grabbed a sweatshirt, and she said, yeah, we don't need a gown. We're going to put this sweatshirt on. And they put that on her. So she's starting to feel a little bit better there. Next question, why is she zipped into a confining bed? Well, she kept trying to get up and get out of it. Well, how come? Well, the reason was she didn't sleep in a bed at home. So that's what she said. Well, where does she sleep? She sleeps in a recliner. That's where she's more comfortable. When she's in a bed, she understands that she's in the hospital, and that upsets her. So guess what happened next? Out went that bed and in came a recliner. And now the patient is starting to do so much better. And they're able to discuss things like, well, what does she want to do while she's here? Do we want the BERT team to come in? Does she want to read or coloring books? What can we put on the TV for her? When people come in, how does she like to be addressed? She wrote all these things down, and it hit all 3 of those areas on the one page, and she took that and she posted it right above her head in the hospital there. And let me tell you what happened next. First of all, the caregiver felt like she could take a breath, and she was much calmer. And she felt like she could go to the restroom or get a cup of coffee. Most importantly, the patient was in much better shape. She was calmer. She felt better. She was cared for. She had familiar things around her. And the nursing staff, my daughter is a somewhat recent graduate of nursing school, only 3 years. She had 4 slides on autism in all of her nursing training. Well, 4 slides and saying someone's a 40-year-old nonverbal autistic person, what did that tell them about that person? Not much. They didn't know how to care for her. This provided them with information that they needed. And then the next morning, when the doctors rounded, the resident read through it and he said, what is this? And the nurses told him, and he said, why don't we do this for everyone? Everything I need medically is in the chart. This tells me who this person is, which I love that. And I was like, yeah, why don't you guys do this for everyone? This is a great idea. And then finally, I will tell you that the caregiver reached out to me after the hospitalization and said, hey, are we allowed to use those? Can anybody have them? Because we would like to have everybody that lives within our facilities have one of these one pages ready for hospitalizations. And I was like, oh no, anybody can fill them out. Here you go. I sent her a blank one. We have some guidance that are available on our website on how to help fill those things out. And I'm happy to say now that every resident of their facilities has a one page for hospitalization because of this.
Thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome.
And I will follow up and say that many providers, day program and residential, have said that they have written one page with a photo and they attach it to the emergency medical form. So if anyone gets transported from the day program to emergency or from the residence to emergency, they not only have, that medical information, the meds, the diagnosis, blah, 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 but they also have the one-page description on how to provide this support. So I hope,
The photo, gotta do the photo.
oh, yes, got to
So
do the
important.
photo.
Yeah,
Because Tracy, go ahead. Why?
because it makes it about a real person. I have an example, and I don't know that it's in this slide deck, where someone just filled it out, and it's actually someone I know. And when I read that one, she seems less real to me than the people I don't know, but I have their photo on. It just personalizes it and makes it real. And there's no reason to not be able to add a photo these days. We all carry, cameras and microcomputers in our hands. So
Exactly, exactly. And when people have done, they've done it at the programs, they ask people, can we put a photo? It really helps it make real. That makes, they see who you are. They see a person and they let people pick the photo they want. And a lot of staff have said, I would not have picked that photo, but we told them, pick the photo you want. There are lots of examples for hospitalization. They are all unique and individualized, so I can't even give you a checklist, like think about this. But, how to support Sam. If you're going to do any kind of therapy, distract him by talking about birds or plants. For Martin, who receives services from mental health and DD, make sure his phone is charged so he can call his mom. If he's upset, ask him if he wants to talk to Mario. Don't order him. For Jim, he wrote his, so you see, I, because he wrote it. But if I get down in the dumps, help remind me of all the great things I'm doing. I have my own apartment. I have a job I love. I'm engaged in getting married. I'm great at sports. So we want you to use this. It's human-centric. It's not about disabilities. You saw there's nothing demographic on it, no address, no guardianship status, not even an age, but who is this human being and what can we do to help them? So use it, think about when and why you would create it. You have the template, but I showed you no examples on the template because most people just do a Word document. You have the guidance on the right side. So what needs to be in this section, but also what we don't put. They are good for general introductions, for any kind of transition, healthcare appointments. People have used it when they're when they're interviewing, staff, providers. Staff have written their own. I just completed working with a residential provider, and the staff are going to write their own and send to the families of the people they support. So they'll know who the staff is that's helping their loved one in their home and a little bit about them. I've had service coordinators, SSA say, wait a minute, I ask people all these questions. They should at least know something about me. So always we talk about the person in the context of family, both biological and chosen. In Charting the Life Course, we talk about 6 domains and filling our buckets of needs and supports. The integrated support star, having a vision for a good life across all life stages and working towards those goals. A reminder, we have our showcase on March 14th and 15th. And I thank you for joining us. When you click on leave on the bottom of the screen, a survey will pop up, a feedback survey. We appreciate your feedback. Again, we are grant funded, so we don't charge anything for people to learn about Charting the Life Course. And we would appreciate your feedback for our grants. I have to leave. I think, Erica, are you staying or is Tracy staying?